This video is not suitable for audiences under 13 years of age.
Kill. Double kill. Triple kill. Rampage godlike.
Hello everyone, Mixfant Gaming here. Welcome to my channel. Today's episode, taking a look at some more test server action. There's been a lot of rebalancing that's been done in this particular test server. There really hasn't been anything new added. It's just mainly rebalancing. They have made changes to several weapons, including, well, I'll just go through here. I have most of them in my hangar. So let's first start off with the Titan. I have the Tsar in here. So the Tsar has been buffed. I don't particularly agree with actually buffing any of the Titan weapons. It's probably only being buffed because in comparison to the other alpha weapons, it doesn't do quite as much damage output. However, Titans are OP as hell, and they need to be nerfed in my opinion. But anyway, so we're looking at Tsar. Also, the Avalanche has had its, I believe its cooldown decrease, or maybe it's just the fact that their rockets fire faster. I'm not sure if the cooldown has been decreased as well, but definitely the rockets fire faster. Yeah, also, we're looking at the Pulsars and the Shredders. Both are supposed to act like the Coronas and Halos and Glory that are on the live server, in the sense that the lockdown effect is accumulated over time, and you don't get the instant chance of lockdowns. The Quarker and Atomizer and the Nucleon are as they pretty much were in the previous test servers, so I'm not going to focus too much on them. As I mentioned, the Shredder and Pulsars have their lockdown effects changed, and the Avengers have had a nerf given to them. They say they have increased the spread by 10%, which doesn't sound like a huge amount, but I've also heard people reporting that the Avengers have actually taken a 15% nerf in damage, and I'm not sure how they got those numbers. I haven't been able to corroborate that, but just take that with a grain of salt that maybe they have actually been nerfed in damage. It's kind of hard to tell. Speaking of nerfs, they have nerfed the Ao Jun in that the cooldown has been increased. So you cannot take flight quite as often as you usually do. And there's another nerf that not too many people are talking about, but it is quite noticeable, and that is the flight speed. The flight speed has really taken a big nerf in my opinion. It definitely is noticeable. I don't have any numbers, but to me it feels almost like a 25% hit in the flight speed. That also, for when we're talking about nerfs, the Phantom has taken a nerf in the sense that its cooldown has been increased. So if we look at the Phantom here, does it say, see, it says the cooldown is 10 seconds. I believe it is now up to 14 seconds, so that is actually a 40% increase. 10 seconds to 14 seconds doesn't necessarily sound like a lot, but when you look at the numbers, 40%, that's a pretty big nerf to a particular bot. How will it affect the Phantom very much? I think in a little bit. I don't think it's going to affect us substantially, but you will have to be a little bit more cautious using it. What else do we have here? The Thermites have had its rocket's speed increase, so it would stand a better chance of actually hitting the target before it can move out of the way. But then again, nobody runs Thermites anyways, and I don't see that change affecting it whatsoever. Beyond that, I'm trying to think that I might be missing one or two things, but those are the main aspects. Now, there is a new module that's been added to the game. So if we go in here, I think I have one here on the Blitz. Yeah, it's called the Overdrive Unit. So if we look at the details of the Overdrive Unit, it says that upon reaching a critical durability level, the weapon's damage output is temporarily increased. Several modules used together increases the critical durability threshold. Now it says that its damage is temporarily increased. They don't say how long it's increased for, and they don't say what the critical threshold is. Now I'm going to show you in a custom game how you can see your critical threshold. As for how long the damage lasts, in my previous tests I've done, to me it seems like the increased damage lasts until your bot dies. But you still have to hit that critical threshold before it's activated. Okay, so without that being said, let's jump into a custom game and I'll show you how you can tell about your critical damage threshold. So let's go into custom game here. And we will choose the new map just because it's been retexturized for this particular test server. So let's go into a fight and we'll see. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to drop into a bot that doesn't have the Overdrive unit, and then I'll explain how it has changed. So I've dropped in with a Phantom here, and you can't see anything now. You have to wait until the countdown finishes, and then you'll be able to have some notice. So if you look up in the top left-hand corner where you see your health bar, and you see that dark green area where the last stand indicator is, well, there's going to be another indicator on that health bar that says where your critical threshold is. So if I go into my menu here, and I say change bot, and I choose here, I'm going to go to the Blitz. On the Blitz, I have one Overdrive unit equipped. You'll see there's now triangles on that bar. That is where my critical threshold is, and as you can see, it's actually less than the last stand. So for this to be effective, on just using one Overdrive unit, my last stand would have to be triggered, and then after that, taking further damage, the Overdrive unit would be triggered, which in this particular case to me is absolutely meaningless. Once my last stand has been triggered, it's not going to be very much longer until after that my bot is dead. So having that increase of 25% damage to my weapons for probably only a few seconds isn't going to make much of a difference whatsoever. So if I change my bot here, and I go into my Ao Jun here, I have two of these equipped on this Ao Jun. And you'll see now the indicator has dropped up to roughly where the last stand indicator is. Actually, I think it's the exact same spot as the last stand indicator. So in this particular instance, once my last stand triggers, my Overdrive unit will actually trigger as well. So for the remainder of my last stand HP, I will have the Overdrive unit. It might be effective a little bit here because once your last stand triggers, you have that, assuming you have a max last stand, you have about 5 seconds of invulnerability that you can make use of the Overdrive unit. But this means for this to work, I now have 2 Overdrive units. So on a bot that has 3 slots, I would have to have 2 Overdrive and 1 last stand to make it somewhat effective. Now, if I get rid of this bot, and I go over to my other Ao Jun that I have 3 equipped on it, you see now it's jumped up to about halfway. Now, I'm not sure if that's halfway, not quite halfway. But anyway, so now this bot here has 3 Overdrive units stacked. And you see the indicator has moved. However, I have no other abilities. I have no last stand, no anti-control, no thermal nuclear reactors, nothing like that. So is it worth having the Overdrive unit and losing those other modules? My opinion is no, it's not worth it. I personally don't see, unless they tweak the numbers, that you would ever sacrifice any of those other units to use Overdrive. Yes, you get a 25% increase, but it's only 25% increase. If you stack these, you don't get 50%, 75% increase. You still only get 25%. It's just you can trigger it a lot quicker. Now, combine that with, say, a thermonuclear reactor that you have 10% increased at max level all the time. Would you rather have the 25% of the Overdrive unit triggered at half health of a bot using all 3 of your slots, or would you rather have 3 thermonuclear reactors that stack the percentage? So now at max level, from the very first shot I take, I have a 30% thermonuclear reactor versus a 25% Overdrive one that only triggers half health of my bot. So to me, it doesn't make any sense. This module, in my opinion, is absolutely worthless. Now, something I have noticed about the Ao Jun when I was playing on the test server is, take a look at the flight speed, and you'll notice something about the flight when I activate my ability. So I activate my ability here. You'll notice there is no countdown as to how much longer I have in my flight. I have no idea if I'm halfway, three-quarters way, almost out before I land. So if this change makes it into a live server, to me this is a huge nerf. Just that one visual, I don't necessarily know when I have to back off and find cover. Now we're just going to wait another 5 seconds here and activate it again, and I'm going to show you another bug, or I hope it's a bug anyways. So I'm going to go into flight here. Now I'm flying. I'm hitting the button. I cannot manually land the Ao Jun. I have to wait currently right now for the flight to completely run out. So if those two combinations, or either or both of them make it to a live server, this is a huge, huge nerf to the Ao Jun, because it makes piloting it and strategically when to back off and to find cover nearly impossible unless you're counting seconds in your head. And I'm not sure about many of you out there, but myself, I get so involved in the battle that I rely on that counter ticking down on the right hand side of my module ability so I can see when to actually drop my Ao Jun and find cover. When it gets about halfway filled, I'm looking for cover. I'm hoping this is all a bug. That A, I cannot manually trigger a landing, because sometimes you want to manually trigger a landing and land on a beacon and cap it. Or B, I want to know when to go find cover. So I was actually quite surprised to see that on the test server. And I really hope that doesn't make it into the live server at all. So anyway, so let's end this. Let's leave the battle. And I'm going to set up my modules back the way I want to run a game, because I don't want to use the Overdrive units. I think they're completely worthless. So I'm going to go into my Ao Jun here. I'm going to change my modules back to using the anti-control. I'm going to go back to using the last stand and another thermal nuclear reactor. Okay, and then I'm going to go back, and that one was fine. This one had modules on it. I'm going to put its anti-control back on. And finally, the other Ao Jun that had two of them on, I'm going to put back on the anti-control. And I'm going to put back on its last stand. And that is the setup I'm going to run. So let's quickly go through here, go through my bots, and we'll run into a game or two. So like I said, I'm running the Ao Ming with the Cyclone, which is the beta version of the Cataclysm for the Titans. And I threw on the Tsar. I know they don't really go in combo together, but I wanted to test both of them, and I didn't want to run a whole bunch of different games to try to get different kinds of footage. I threw the Avalanche on the Ao Jun. I thought maybe with the increased fire rate of the Avalanche, it might be halfway decent, especially trying to attack Titans at range. The Pulsars on the Leech. I have the Quarker and Atomizer on the Phantom, the Shredders on the Blitz, and I threw the Avengers on a second Ao Jun. So, with that being said, and without any further ado, let's jump into the action. Alright, here we go. Battle begins. Team Deathmatch. And we have the factory. Cool. So we're going to have a little look at the factory here. Let's see here where I'm going to drop in. Let's drop in with... You know what? Let's go with the Ao Jun with the Avalanche. This is a Team Deathmatch. You have to worry about going to get some beacons. Alright. So we have 500 meters range on the Avalanche. I'm going to be playing this more like a kind of a support back-end type of a role to start. I'm not going to probably get too much into range for my flamethrowers. Just going to look at these Avalanche. So the rockets do fire a lot quicker. And the Avalanche is already reloaded. I think they must have... I think they reduced the reload speed on these Avalanche. I don't play Avalanche, so I'm not familiar with the reload, but they seem to be reloading awfully quick. So I think that's actually a good thing, because the Avalanche is not being used at all. So having these maxed out might be a viable option, especially in this era of these OP Titans going all over the place. Being able to stay at 500 meters range and do at least some kind of damage might actually be beneficial for some people. So okay, so you see that little triangle there on the enemy? That is their indicator for their Overdrive Unit, where they get an additional 25% damage for their weapons. I really don't think the Overdrive Unit is that useful at this point in time. Not if you're stocking up 3 of them just to increase where you want to actually have the 25% additional damage. You would never, in my opinion, sacrifice 3 thermonuclear reactors for 3 overdrive units. It just doesn't make any sense. You get more damage output from thermonuclear reactors right from the very start. This is why I'm not actually running any overdrive units on these bots. I don't think they're worth it. Which means they'll probably tweak it so that it is completely OP by the time it comes to the live server. Alright, so we have an Ao Jun there. Come on, let's... Oh, he went in his phase shift. Okay. So, this factory map, it's a lot of orange. Let's just put it that way. It is kind of hard to tell, like, the reds out of it. For instance, I'm sure if this was like a beacon rush game, the red beacons would be a little bit harder to discern from the other background. And what is very annoying is this map does have the lava or acid or whatever you want to call it. See kind of those darkish orange spots right there down to my lower left? If you land in those pools, you will take damage. But they blend in with the ground so much, it's extremely hard to tell if you're actually going to be in them or not. Just because they blend so much. And if you're focusing on trying to hit enemies, it's very easy to avoid those. I think they need to be either a different color, like make them acid and make them a bright green, or make them a more of a dark or bright red or something, just so it sticks out a little bit more. Because it's very bland, and it essentially camouflages for the rest of the environment. While I like the concept of this factory map, there are elements color-wise I would definitely change. It's way too orange. It's kind of actually disgusting color, to be perfectly honest. The textures and everything are great. I actually like the size. Oh, there we go, double kill. I like the size of the map, but there's way too much orange and brown for my liking, anyways. Alright, so let's see if we can't hit this Ao Ming up here. Try to do at least a little bit of damage from 500 meters range. Back off. Yeah, the flight speed of these... See, I almost landed right in that drink there, in that lava or acid, whatever it is. And I probably wouldn't even known until I would start taking damage in my body. But yeah, these... Oh, damn it. I gotta get out, come on, get out. See, I wasn't paying attention again, and I walked right into it. Okay. But yeah, the flight speed of this Ao Jun is definitely noticeable. You are not flying very fast at all. Oh crap, am I gonna land? Oh, phew, I thought I was gonna land in that stupid acid stuff again. What? Wait. Oh, were you hitting me? Damn it, I'm in the acid again. Crap. Crap, I have no choice. I gotta get out of here. Rampage, come on. I can't get out. Damn it. That's okay. I wanted this spot anyways. I was in it for over 5 minutes. Alright, so let's drop in here. Let's go with the Pulsar and see how this effect has changed. Okay, so he's in his face shift. I'm going to see if I can't lock him down. Nope. Okay. Next target. Let's go for the Ao Jun. Yeah, no. Come on, switch target. There we go. Ao Jun. Look at that. Instant lock. I thought these mechanics were supposed to have changed. I locked him in one single shot. So these Pulsars and Shredders, well, at least the Pulsars anyways, for sure, they're not behaving like they said they were supposed to. They're supposed to mimic how the Halo, Corona, and Glory are on the live server, where it's accumulated over time. That's not the case. Not unless there's some other kind of mechanics when you're dealing with Titans. So let's try to hit this Falcon, but I think he was already locked down, so we're going to try to test these a little bit more. Okay, Ao Jun again. Come on. Okay, so I'm hitting him a few times. You see, there was no, on the live server, that icon above him, that lock icon, fills up from kind of a whitish gray all the way to red. And when it gets full, that's when the player's locked down. That icon appeared only when the player was locked down. So to me, it's analogous of exactly how it is currently on the live server. In other words, Pulsars are still a chance at lockdown. It's not accumulated over time. So these Pulsars are not behaving like they said they were supposed to on the test server. That's disappointing. And in my opinion, the Pulsars and Shredders should have been changed at the same time as the other lockdown weapons. It makes no sense why one set of lockdown weapons behaves one way and another set of lockdown weapons behaves something completely different. The only thing I think should do an instant lockdown is the lockdown hammer, because you're spending power cells on it. Alright, so let's go with the Ao Jun again, running Avengers. So they said the spread was changed, and I saw another test server post from somebody else that had more descriptions in it, and they said the Avenger damage was nerfed by 15% as well. And I wouldn't put it past Pixonic, but really, Avengers are not being used a heck of a lot currently right now in the live server anyways. You're seeing a lot more people switching to things like Glaciers and Calamities, especially Calamities given that the Yang Li pilot is different for Ao Jun's. So I'm not sure why they're really touching Avengers. Even the dispersion I don't think is absolutely necessary. But they've already done the dispersion on the shotguns, so they'll just do it on the Avengers. And next thing you know, they'll do the dispersion increase on the Punishers and the Maulets and the Tempests. Like, where does it end? Like, these weapons are not overly used that much anymore. The Avengers are for some players running Ao Jun's, and maybe a player or two that's running a Bulwark. But beyond that, a lot of, at least in Champion League, a lot of players have already gone to the Glacier type weapons. Alright, so let's see if we can get this Ao Jun taken care of up here. And I have another Ao Jun to my left. So we're winning this battle 24-17. I'm just going to see if I can roast them up at close range. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe these Titans are actually level 16 for the test server. They didn't used to be this level last week. So at least they've increased the levels of the Titans a little bit. But I'm still in agreement of what Islander says, that we should be testing at max level. Because that way, we can give true feedback. Because it's when these things get leveled up that they become completely insane and overpowered. Alright, we only have 30 seconds left. Let's run in with a Phantom. I don't know if I'll get to my Blitz or not. I'm just going to be completely reckless with this thing. I'm probably going to have to run another game so I can run the Phantom in the Blitz. So, see, I am not a huge fan of these type of weapons, the Atomizers and the Quarkers, just because I have a hard time keeping on target. See, even at close range, just the little tiny minute changes I make on my phone, I'm off target. I think they will be a strong weapon. Yeah, I didn't even get to my Blitz. I think they'll be a strong weapon for people who can keep a target in line of fire. But I feel that close range brawling, especially if you're dealing with something like a Phantom or Strider running around you, it's going to be very hard to hit that target. Whereas this is where the shotguns actually came into play. So let's run another game here. See what we can come up with. What are we going to get this time? And we have... What do we have? Beacon Rush. Okay. Oh, God. I can't see anything. Why the hell is the camera on, like, the center beacon through this structure? Anyways, let's... Come on, drop. Let's start with the Blitz. And since I didn't run it the last game, and let's try to run the center here, see what we can do. See if we get a chance to test these shredders out. Go to center. Grab this beacon if we can. So I have a player back there. Let's see if we can't lock him down. Nope. Unloaded my whole clip and I didn't lock down anything. So I believe that should have locked him down if that was on the live server. I think we're still at a... I think the shredders are still behaving like they are currently on the live server. If the mechanics would have been changed... See, I'm unloading my clip. And there we go. There was an instant lockdown. It wasn't accumulated. The pulsars and shredders are not working like they're supposed to. See, another instant lockdown. Yeah, the pulsars and shredders are not working like they said they were supposed to. So they're broken. Okay, up here with the Ao Jun, let's try. Look at how slow this flight speed is, really. Okay, let's roast this guy up. Take him out if we can. Come on. Oh, as if. You know what? I think they actually did nerf the damage. That Ao Jun should have been dead with me hitting him like that point-blank range already. I think they might have actually nerfed the damage on these a little bit. I'm not sure if it was been 15% like I heard some people say, because I haven't gotten anything corroborating it directly from Pixonic, but they definitely don't seem to be doing the same amount of damage as their counterparts do on the live server. And that's disappointing that, if that's true, that Pixonic is putting this stuff through on the test server without even telling us. And of course there's that, I hope it's a bug about the Ao Juns, that you can't tell when you're landing, when you're in your flight ability, you can't tell how much more flight time you have left, and you can't manually land it. So I hope that's actually a bug. Anyways, jeez, this Phantom is being really annoying. At least we got his last stand triggered, but holy jeez. And it doesn't help that I can't hit the broadside of a barn with these weapons. I'm trying to... Okay, I'm letting them cool down a little bit, see if I can hit them a little bit more. Now that... See, this is why I'm saying these weapons probably are not going to be for me, because I can't keep my target radicals on the enemy. And this is probably where maybe there's a little bit more benefit if you're playing on a PC. You have a little bit more fine-grained and fine-tuned control. But it's a test server, so I don't care if I win or lose. But I play on the device, and I don't think these weapons are going to work very well for my current play style. Just because I can't keep the bloody things on target. So let's see if we can hit this Ao Main. He's down over top of that little knoll there. Oh! Ooh. This is going to be some lunch. Ooh, yum. Oh. That wasn't very fun. That was my kill. Okay, this guy up here, this blurry face, he actually seems to be, or she, seems to be a pretty decent player. At least when they were using that Phantom, they were actually piloting it very, very well. Alright, so we got an invader here. I'm at point blank range. I'm just trying to see just the little tiny movements of my thumb puts me off target. And then I miss, even though I'm point blank range. See, like, I can't keep these this ammo right on target. Well, he's not moving right now, so it helps. But when he's moving around and I'm moving around, I'm missing probably 3/4 of my shots. All right, so let's bring out the Ao Ming. I haven't gotten a chance to test the Tsar weapons. So I know this is a pretty bad combo, having the Cyclones as well as the Tsars, but I wanted to test both. I tried to time his last stand anyway, which that didn't work out very well. Okay, so let's hit this guy over there. You know, the Tsars really do reload a lot faster. I think they actually make them a lot more useful, even though I do not agree with them touching Titan weapons and buffing. You know, this is... Pixonic says... excuse me. Pixonic says it takes them 6 or 8 months before they get the data, before they can tweak stuff. Well, Titans have not been out for, 8 months. And they're buffing these things. Even the Cryos, when they were first released, I think Pixonic buffed them after 2 weeks of being released. But yet, when it comes to nerfing things, they tend to wait until the masses obtain it, and then they essentially try to force people to go to other weapons. And that's not how you balance. In my opinion, you balance based off of win percentages, not the popularity. So if a weapon or bot level or whatever is being used, say, in only 5% of the matches, but they have in those matches a 9% win rate, well, then that needs to be adjusted, because that is too high of a win rate, even for its low usage percentage. Just because everybody was running shotguns, I bet you if you looked at the win rate overall probably would have been about 50%, because everybody's running shotguns, so it's actually even. But, the shotguns have been nerfed, and we're going to have to deal with it. But the fact that they're now looking at nerfing Avengers, they're looking at nerfing Ao Juns, all because of popularity, and in all honesty, Avengers are not being used as heavily, especially in Champion League right now. Alright, so flying around this Ao Ming, honestly, this is getting kind of boring. I understand why people run the Ao Ming a lot. You can sit back, especially if they're max level, just camp and kill stuff. But I actually kind of find this boring. I'm a brawler. I'm a brawler at heart. I like to just get up in close quarters with players. And this peekaboo, trying to hit around corners. It's not really my play style. But I'm giving these Tsars a full test here, so I can give some proper feedback. So when this guy lands, I'm going to hit him. Oh, he went into his phase shift. And phase shift should be done right about now. And there we go. Okay, so his last stand's been triggered, his phase shift's been triggered, and right about now. Okay, got it. Excuse me. So that should be just about game. Alright, we'll look at the tail tapes, and then we'll get into some of my final thoughts. How do we do here? Yeah, no feedback yet. 1.4 million damage, 4 kills, third in the stats. So my final thoughts. I think about half of these changes is absolutely pointless. The Tsar weapon, I don't think they should be touching. Okay, no, let me correct that. I don't think they should be buffing Titan weapons. If anything, they need a nerf, especially those friggin' Dragoon-like weapons. The Cuirassier, however you pronounce it, and the Gendarme are absolutely dominating at range on Ao Mings. Titans overall need some kind of a nerf, because I have run so many games of late, and I'm talking multiple games in a day, where I run into just one single player on one team having a maxed Ao Ming with maxed weapons and modules, and they just dominate the game, getting 4 or 5. I saw one player get 7.1 million damage and 20 kills in a team deathmatch. Like, come on, Pixonic. But anyways, beyond that, I do think the Avalanche needs some kind of a buff because nobody uses it. The increased rocket speed is nice. I think it needs to go a little bit further, to be perfectly honest. The shredders and pulsars, to me, didn't work at all like they indicated. On the live server, the mechanics where you actually have to accumulate the lockdown effect over time for the halo, the glory, and the corona, the icon above the target will fill, and once it's filled, the target becomes locked on. I never saw any of that at all on the test server. It seemed to be still an instantaneous lock. You know, once you got that hit, the icon all of a sudden just filled to completion. And sometimes I would shoot a target multiple times and nothing would happen. And the icon wouldn't fill up. Sometimes I would shoot, for instance, a Titan in one single shot and they seemed to be locked down. So I don't think that mechanic is working at all on the test server. The Avengers, it was hard to tell. Yes, the spread was noticeable. Now, from what I heard of a couple of people saying that there was a damage nerf by 15%, that was hard to tell. Like these weapons are only at level 8 Mark 1. So, you know what, they really need to be putting this stuff at max levels on the test server to really see how devastating things can be. Beyond that, the Blitz had gotten a buff, and it was somewhat noticeable. I'm not the greatest Blitz pilot in the world, so maybe others out there like Chief. I know Chief loves the Blitz, so maybe he could speak a lot more intelligently to that. The Phantom, I really was not a fan of the additional cooldown on its ability. That's a 40% increase over the ability. I thought they were only going to increase it to 12 seconds. Apparently it's 14 seconds now. So take that with a grain of salt. If it comes into the live server like it is, you have to be a little bit more cautious. You're probably going to have to rely more on ensuring you have something like a Battleborn, at least one on your Phantom to be able to survive and get your ability if you're using your Phantom to rush in for beacons at the start. Now, let's talk about this Ao Jun. You know what? The Ao Jun does not need a nerf. I know everybody complains about its speed and whatnot. And if we didn't have Titans in the game, I would agree that the flight speed needs to be nerfed. But the flight speed now, the way they have it on the test server, is very noticeable. It's quite a bit slower. And a lot of people who are running Ao Juns are using them to mainly try to counter Titans. And they're not the greatest counter, but they're one of the few bots that can counter Titans over time. So if you're trying to get into range of an Ao Ming with the Dragoon 600 meter weapons, you need that flight speed to get in there, get just a few shots off, and get out. The way this flight speed is right now, by the time you get to the Ao Jun, you're going to have to land. And you're going to be exposed and you're going to be dead. And the flight speed is really needed in order to try to counter these Ao Mings in the air. It truly, truly is. And unless you can walk to within about 350 meters range of an Ao Ming, it's going to be absolutely pointless at this point in time. Imagine those players that are running an Ao Mings on a carrier out over the open water. You can't go after them with an Ao Jun now. You try to go after them, you're probably going to land up in the water, and your Ao Jun's going to be dead. So how are you supposed to counter these Titans now? And this is my biggest beef I have with Pixonic. It seems that they are purposely nerfing anything that has any kind of a remote chance of countering a Titan. That is not a Titan in itself. It's pretty clear to me that their mindset about Titans is only a Titan can counter a Titan. Well, if that's the case, then give us all platinum, our means to accumulate it, so that we can counter maxed out freaking Ao Mings with 600 meters range that are racking up 7 million damage on a beacon rush game. Like, we have to make do with what we have, and I had done the calculations before, and just to level up an Arthur, in keeping it stock weapons of the kinetic weapons that I had the 500 meter range and get the modules and max it all out, With the current rate of obtaining platinum, it takes 636 days to accumulate that platinum. That's 1.75 years. And there's already quite a few players out there that have these maxed out mings because they're spending over $3,000 to max them out. So Pixonic, please stop nerfing stuff that at least helps us, give us a fighting chance to at least just do some damage to these things. And the other thing I really hate is this flight indicator of the Ao Jun. I'm hoping it's a bug, but if it's not, this is going to be a huge, huge nerf to the Ao Jun, because you have no idea how much more flight time you have left and when to try to calculate to find cover, and you cannot manually trigger the landing of the Ao Jun. I'm not sure if it's the same for the other Dragon bots or not. I'm not sure if it's the same for the Mercury, because the Mercury, you can trigger that ability to land quickly. I'm not sure if it's the same for the Invader, where you can trigger its ability to land more quickly and give the suppression, or if it's just something with the Ao Jun. But that flight indicator needs to be changed back so that you know how much more flight time you have, and that you can hit it a second time and trigger a landing manually. So if things stay the way they are with the Ao Jun currently on the test server, it is a absolutely huge, huge hit to the Ao Jun, and that is going well beyond with what it's needed. And I don't think anything is needed to be nerfed for the Ao Jun. It's the Titans themselves that need to be looked at, Pixonic. Really. Wake up and listen to your players, because I know there are a lot of people who are sending you feedback on social media, on Reddit, through your in-game feedback system, and I know I do, and I know I'm always continuously ignored. Anyways, that's my thoughts for the test server. Sorry, this is a pretty lengthy video, but there really was a lot to cover. So if you've liked the content, please give me a thumbs up. It does help me out. Consider subscribing, and until next time, cause some mayhem in the field for me.